Hello and welcome on in. It is so great to see you. Today I wanted to speak to you about a client, give you a scenario, because it might help you if you're feeling any of these symptoms as well. So I had a client come in once, and she was a mum with two kids. They weren't newborns, they were a bit older, they were school-age kids, and she was just feeling under the weather, is the way she called it. She had brain fog, she had headaches, anxiety, she had aching joints, like it would change, it would move around her body. The joints that ached or hurt would change each day or each part of the day. She had a lot of fatigue, she was bloated, and she kept gaining weight and didn't know why. There was nothing different that she was doing. And she was incredibly perplexed and struggling with what was going on and didn't know which way to turn or what was happening. So did some investigations with her and found out that there was a condition that she was suffering called leaky gut. Now, if you haven't heard of leaky gut, it is a condition where we've got the intestines. Think of the intestines as being a tube, and the intestines carry the food that you digest. You break down the food, it's got this, what's called the bolus, and it transports it through and eliminates what we don't need and helps us absorb what we do need. Now, in this tube, there are all of these cells. And those cells need to be held together by what's called tight junction proteins. And these tight junction proteins are a bit like a gate. And they allow nutrients and what we need into our bloodstream. And they keep out what we don't want. So they keep out the toxins, the microbial products, the undigested foods. They keep all of that out so that it keeps it out of our body, because whatever's in the intestines isn't actually in our body, it's still outside of our body. And we don't want some of that stuff coming into the bloodstream, which would then elicit an immune reaction and give you a lot of symptoms like this client was feeling. So with the tight junction proteins, when they're doing their job and they're being an effective gate, opening and closing when they need to, everything's working fine. But when they start to lose that ability to open and close and they lose that tight junction, then that's when we can get situations happening and leaky gut, or it's also called intestinal permeability. So think about it as being leakiness from whatever's in the gut into the bloodstream. Now, symptoms that can come about when leaky gut occurs include things like brain fog, joint pains, muscle aches and pains, irritable bowel symptoms, autoimmune disease, especially things like Hashimotos, celiac disease, weight gain, anxiety, depression, fatigue, adrenal exhaustion, brain fog, food sensitivities are a big one with that. Recurrent infections, getting recurrent infections and not really knowing what's going on and not getting over them easily. Thyroid imbalances, so underactive thyroid or even the autoimmune thyroid conditions. Fatty liver and nutritional deficiencies, things like iron and B12. To name a few. So these are some of the symptoms that can go on when there's a leaky gut syndrome happening. So if you think about those symptoms, a lot of us feel that way much of the time. So what's going on? What causes leaky gut? Well, leaky gut is caused from toxins in our food, a toxicity overload, chronic stress, poor diet, medications, highly processed foods with additives, with preservatives, and sugars, refined sugars, and gut dysbiosis, where there's an imbalance in the good versus non-desirable microbes of the gut. So all of these can trigger a leaky gut situation. And in the current Western world, we probably get a lot of those, we do get a lot of those in our current Western diet and lifestyle. So it is increasing in prevalence, the number of people that are being seen with leaky gut. But leaky gut is inherent in many conditions, many health conditions. It's the one of the underpinning triggers in many health conditions, including autoimmune disease. So researchers are now saying that autoimmune disease has a leaky gut issue attached to every one of them. So conditions like Hashimotos thyroiditis, which if we go back to the scenario I gave you at the beginning, the beautiful young woman that came in feeling all of those symptoms, I said she had leaky gut, but we also did investigations and found out she also had Hashimotos thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune condition of the thyroid. Now, as part of her treatment and her regime, I worked with healing the leaky gut and balancing her immune system. And the balancing of the leaky gut, restoring of the leaky gut, healing the gut is very important and vital to being able to correct and conquer any health issues that are going on. Because if you want to conquer your health, we need to look at the basics. And Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut. Hippocrates was the father of medicine. But I've also been at conferences. In years gone by, I went to this beautiful conference, an international conference, and they had all kinds of medical specialists of their field that came and spoke to us and gave us their knowledge and their expertise. And in that conference, on the last day, they were all standing up doing a question and answer forum where we could ask them questions. And one of the international specialists stepped forward and he said, you know what, everything that we've been talking about this week is all due to gut health and all due to the health and what is going on with gut. And this includes heart disease, neurological or brain issues, immune system, all of it comes back to the health of the gut. And it was really empowering to hear a specialist of his field who wasn't a specialist in gut stand up and say that what he works with on an everyday basis to do with the circulation and to do with other areas of the body, he considered came back to diet and the gut health of the person. And so that's where he tended to look at whether it be heart disease or a neurological issue going on. So it was really interesting and powerful to watch that. So if you're suffering from any of these symptoms, look into, could it be a leaky gut situation happening? If you are suffering from any autoimmune condition like Hashimotos, thyroiditis or celiac disease, then it's imperative that you look at healing your gut. Start with the gut and move forward from there, because the best way to help to reverse your symptoms and conquer your health is to start looking at the gut first. So if you're suffering from, like I said, autoimmune, irritable bowel, inflammatory bowel disease, any of those kinds of conditions, start treating the gut and moving forward from there so that you can conquer your health. I look forward to speaking with you next time. I'm Teresa Todd, Conquering Health naturopath and biochemist. Bye for now.